not sorry. I am a jailbird. Oh my god. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you guys are new, what's up? My name is Kaylee. First of all, that is a coffin in my room. Super creepy, I know. So, as you guys can tell by the title of the video, you guys already know, this is going to be a story time. Where do I even begin? Okay, well, I guess we'll just start with the basics. We'll just start with the very beginning. So I was arrested January 5th of 2018. Right in the beginning of the new year, right in the beginning of 2018. It started off with a bang. You know, I wasn't going to make this video at first because I was just like, you know, I don't really want people to know that I was arrested. It's not necessarily like, it is super embarrassing. But I figured that it's such a good way to kind of help somebody else out, or maybe even just shed a little bit of light on the situation, because I'll start off with saying that with this situation, I did not think it was as big of a deal as it was until I was arrested. I knew that it was wrong and I knew that I shouldn't have been doing it, but I didn't think that it would lead to me ending up in jail. So we'll start off with that. So if anything from this video, just if anybody can take away from that, listen, because yeah, just don't do it. Alright, so if you guys know me personally, you guys know that I've been driving under a suspended license for quite some time now. Not only on top of that have I been driving under a suspended license, but I have also been driving with expired tags on my vehicle for quite some time. The reason why my license was suspended was because of speeding tickets. I do have a speeding problem. I have a lead foot. I have been in and out of court with speeding tickets. Probably, I'm 26 now, and I've probably gotten speeding tickets since I was at least 17. I think I did really good my first year of driving, and then it just kind of went downhill from there. So, like I said, if you know me personally, you know that I do have a speeding problem. I've had problems with getting tickets. It's just been a thing. So, November of 2016, no, yes, November of 2016 is when my license was suspended. I was able to renew my license November of 2017. So I had my license suspended for about a year. And I was very well aware of it, and I continued to drive. I had people tell me back and forth, don't drive, don't do it, you know, you can get in a lot of trouble. And I was like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to get a ticket. I've actually been pulled over numerous of times since I've had my license suspended. I've gotten like a ticket, but most of the time I would just like play dumb. So yeah, I should have known that my luck was wearing out eventually, and eventually I was going to get in trouble for it. So I was driving my vehicle and I got pulled over. Now in my head, as I was getting pulled over, I was like, play dumb like I normally do. Me telling you this is not to be like, oh, look at me, I got away with something, because clearly in the end I didn't. But I guess it's me just really just like lining up my stupidity as to thinking that I was invincible. So he comes back and he's like, we have a way bigger issue than just your tags being expired. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you're driving without a license. And I tried to be like, oh my gosh. So he was able to see in the system that last November I had gotten pulled over. And so I try to play dumb, and he's like, you got pulled over like 2 months ago for this. And I was just like, crap. So then he's like, you're under arrest. And I just, my heart just like sank. So I just never thought that it would happen. I never thought that I would be in that situation to where like I was gonna be under arrest. I had never been arrested prior to this. Like I had gone 26 years without getting arrested, and now was the time. So I have severe anxiety, and I also have claustrophobia issues. Not just like, I don't necessarily know if it's like called claustrophobia. Like I do have claustrophobic issues, but also like if somebody like lays on top of me and like hugs me and I can't use my arms, like I'll start to panic. I like not being able to use my hands, not being able to like have my hands, like it's just kind of a thing that I don't like. I start to panic really big. So I knew going into it that once they handcuffed me that I was probably going to have a lot of anxiety. I also have severe asthma issues, and when my anxiety starts I can't breathe. So I was like telling the officer, I was like, okay, I have severe anxiety and I also have asthma. I'm going to need to bring my inhaler because chances are I'm probably going to have an anxiety attack. I just want to let you guys know beforehand. And he was like, not a problem. If you want to bring your purse, bring your purse. And I was like, can I make a quick phone call? So I called my stepdad and I'm like, I'm being arrested. Can you come get my car? And he's like, yeah, where are you? So I tell him where I'm at, and I hand the phone to the officer, and the officer's like, all right, well, I'm not gonna have her car towed, which will save you a lot of money, if you can come get her car. Then I messaged my boyfriend. We had been messaging prior to that. As soon as I got pulled over, I had like wrote my boyfriend and was like, I'm getting pulled over, and he was like, oh no, because obviously he knows the situation. So then I write him, and it's just literally, I'm getting arrested, call you soon. And that was like all that I had sent him. So he was at work and just completely in the dark of everything. So they put me behind cuffs, and it was so embarrassing. I was outside of a fire station, and there was a paramedic vehicle with 2 paramedics in there just like staring at this. So they bring me over to the front of my car. He has me spread my legs, asks me if I have any weapons, pats me down, puts my hand behind my back, slaps the handcuffs on, and puts me in the car. And he's like, it's gonna be about 25 minutes. I'm like, okay. I'm crying. Like I'm crying. I'm crying, yeah, because I'm getting arrested, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting arrested. Like, what did I do? All I could think about was like, why, like, what did I do? What did I do? But not only am I crying, but I'm also crying because I'm just so completely embarrassed. I mean, cars driving by, these paramedics staring at me. I'm like, this is so incredibly embarrassing. Like, I can't even deal with this. So I'm crying in the back seat. He starts driving. And I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to add this into the story because it is like, it blows my mind how this is legitimately a thing. So on this officer's badge, it said that he's been an officer since 2015. Okay, well, I'm not going to argue with that. Obviously, he has been. But he seemed like a brand new officer. I'm not even kidding you. So they have their little laptops up front. And he's driving, and we're on the highway. And he's driving, and then he's also, like, writing on his laptop. Like, this is not even an exaggeration. 5 different occasions, he is swerving into the other lane where another car is and having to swerve back. And I'm like this in the back seat, and like, if anybody sat in the back of a cop car, they're like bucket seats, but they're like hard. There's no cushion. They're just like, and there's nothing like, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna put the seatbelt on you, but he like puts it over me, but it's not necessarily like on me because I'm like this. So I'm like in the back seat, and he's like swerving, and I'm like, you know, like in the thing, and I have no control over my hands, and all I can think about is I'm like, if we get in a car accident, like I'm just gonna like smash my head on the window. Like I have no way of like stopping or embracing myself for anything that's gonna happen. Like this is nuts. So it happens like 5 different times, and I keep like looking over the guy, and I'm like hoping that he like looks back in his rearview mirror at me, because I'm just like, seriously, like I wanted to be like, hey, you know what, if we get in an accident, like who am I gonna be blaming when I'm like completely effed up in the back seat because I like whatever. So then we finally get to the police station. He brings the car in, and he parks, and he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get you out. So he just like walk me in, and he takes me to like the place where they have to do the paperwork, and he's like, it's gonna be about an hour of paperwork. I'm like, great. I have to sit in these handcuffs for an hour. So nobody was in there, thank God, because I was just like, oh my God, like if people are in here, like this is so embarrassing. So he starts his paperwork, and the medical people take me back, ask me like all these questions, take my vital signs. My oxygen level ended up being really, really low, so they actually had to give me my inhaler while I was there. And then after that, I'm like waiting around for him to finish his paperwork. And the reason why I bring this in is because it's just like the most frustrating thing. So an officer was shot and killed, I think 2 or 3 days prior to me getting arrested. It was at the jail that I was at, was the jail that the officer worked for. That day, everybody was at the funeral for that officer. I'm nowhere near like being insensitive to the fact of this officer that has passed away, as well as his family, because it is such an incredibly sad thing, and my heart goes out to everybody that has been affected by that. But that did call for it being really backed up at that jail, because so many officers were at the funeral and other officers were pulling in overtime taking, versus I think they have like 10-hour shifts there, and they were doing like 12 to 13-hour shifts. So the officers there were already like frustrated, irritated, tired, wanted to go home, and been there for so long. So the officer, like, he just keeps messing up on the paperwork. He's like, asked me my last name like 30,000 times, asked me my address 30,000 times, kept messing it up. Like, I would tell him something and then he like asked me what like 1,000 times, and then he would sit there and be like, oh, go back like one more time. And he did this over and over and over and over again. And I'm sitting here in handcuffs. These handcuffs are like digging into my wrists, you know, and I'm sitting here and I'm just like, so finally, like, I'm just getting frustrated because I'm like, when are you going to be able to take these handcuffs off? So an hour of paperwork turned into me being in these handcuffs for 3 hours. I literally sat in these handcuffs for 3 hours, hands behind my back, tight as hell. I had to like pee a bunch of times. He let me go pee twice within those 3 hours because I had to go. But I was just like so frustrated, and then I had to wait longer because the sheriff that like approves of the paperwork was at that funeral. So finally, they put you into like the pod is what they call it, which is like not a holding cell, but like a holding area. And you can't wear any shoes, and like I was like still wearing my clothes that I was in. So this lady officers come down, they're patting me down. They try to get me to get my nose ring out, but this is a pretty new nose ring, and I couldn't get it out, and so I was like, I can't get it out. And they were like, well, do you plan on getting bailed? And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get bailed out. So they were like, okay, well, if you don't get bailed out, then we're putting you in that cell and that nose ring's coming out. And I was like, no, that's fine, whatever. So they're done like doing that, searching me, doing whatever, and they bring me into the pod. Now, from other people that I've spoke to, most of the time when you're like at a pod or you're inside the actual jail, men and women aren't together. Well, I wouldn't know because I've never been to jail, but people have told me men and women aren't together. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, whatever. So there was men and women in the pod together, and I walk in and they're like, okay, we'll go have a seat, and then when we're ready for you, we'll call you up. So they're like, sit on the right side, and then like all the guys were on the left side, and these guys weren't just people that were like in there holding, like they were actual inmates, so they were actually getting booked in. But since everything was so backed up, I had like 5 people in front of me to even get paperwork done before I even got paperwork done. So I sit down and I'm just like hanging out, and not even necessarily hanging out. I'm like, I've been crying the whole time at this point, you know what I mean? Like, I was just so upset. I was like freaking out. My anxiety was like through the roof. Oh my God. I sit down and I'm just like sitting there, and they have like 2 TVs or whatever. And I'm just sitting there, and I just start thinking, and I'm like, this is my life. Like, what did I do to myself? You know, you just have a lot of time to think in there. And they told you, like, don't talk to the men, don't talk to the women either. So more people keep coming in and in and in, and they were like in their full inmates attire, their jumpsuits. So I'm sitting there, and this big guy, huge guy, oh my God, walks behind me, because if we had to use the restroom, they would open, we had holding cells like around the whole thing. They popped it 2 holding cells for us, so that if we had to go into the restroom, we would have to go into the holding cell and use the restroom. These holding cells have huge windows that you can still see into, so I was like, if I have to pee, I have to pee in front of all these people. It's so embarrassing. So this guy's walking by to get into, or to go to one of the holding cells to go to the bathroom, or I don't know what he's doing. He walks by, he grabs the back of my head right here, like handful of hair, like just like this, throws my head back, and he's like yanking my hair, and I can't even say it. I can't even say it on YouTube what he said to me. but it was something very, very, very sexual and vulgar. Very vulgar to me. And I'm like sitting there, like my head's like back, and I'm just like, oh my God. I don't even know what went through my head. And so the cops are like, hey, run over, slam him up against the wall, open up a pod door, throw him in. He's in the pod. He's in the pod for the rest of the time. And he, like I said, they're the big windows. And he's just at me the whole time. Like the whole time. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm gonna get raped. This is how I die. Oh my God. So I'm like freaking out, whatever. So then more time goes by, more time goes by. I have another girl over here that's like clearly, she has like tracks up her arm, clearly like she's into shooting up. And she's like nodding off, like her hair's like in front of her. And she's just like nodding off, and there's like another girl that was just there, and I was just like, oh my God. And then all these other guys, they're like talking like, oh, how long have you been out? Like some people knew each other, and they're like, how long have you been out? And the guy was like, oh, 6 months. And he's like, oh, I only made it 2 months out. Like bragging about it. And I'm just sitting here like, well, how would you like brag about having this life? Like living your life like this? Like I just, in my head, like I just don't understand it. So I'm just like, oh my God, this is like so ridiculous. Time goes by, time goes by. So I got there at I got there at 12. I got there at 12. And at this point, it's like probably like 5 o'clock now, 5:30. And I'm like, what is going on? So basically, I walk over and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, your parents are on their way. They're posting your bond. And I'm like, perfect. I'm like, do I get a phone call? They're like, yeah, once we get your paperwork started. They get my paperwork started. They bring out dinner, and they're like sack lunches. If you've been in jail, you eat sack lunches. Or, well, not always sack lunches, but they brought out sack lunches. They offered it to everybody. They offered it to me, and I'm like, no, thank you. And somebody looks over, and he's like, she's too effing good for our food. And I was just like, no, I'm just not hungry, you know? So it was just like the whole experience. Finally, I get over. I talk to an officer. They're like, okay, here's this, this, and this. Here's your phone calls. You can make phone calls. I finally call my mom, and I'm like, hey, she's like, hey, we had to go get cash because they need to take cash. So we're driving there. It's going to be about like 15 minutes, and then we'll put it in your account. They said once it's in your account, you'll be good to go. And I'm like, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm embarrassed. Sorry, blah, blah, blah. Before that, I had to make a recording. So I'm like, they ask you, like, state your first and last name, and then state, like, what jail you're at. So I'm like, Kaylee Bauer, da-da-da-da, jail. And it's so embarrassing because like I guess I sounded like depressed. I was just like, Kaylee Bauer, da-da-da-da, jail. So then I call my boyfriend because he's been waiting. At this point, it's like 6:30, and he's like been waiting all day. I told him at 11:30 that I was getting arrested. So he's been waiting 7 hours. He's just like, what's going on? So I answer it, and then he's like, it like goes and it's like, thank you for using this. And I'm like, baby. And he's like, oh my God, baby. Like, and I'm just like, oh yeah, like it's so pathetic. And I'm like, okay, well my parents are posting my bond, I'll call you when I get out. And he's like, I love you so much, oh my God. So I finally get out at 7:30, and I was there for 8 hours. It was insane. I don't know. So basically, I don't know, it was just such a crazy experience for me. I've never obviously been arrested prior to this. It was insane. So like I said, the whole reason for me telling this story time is just, you know, there are people out there that drive under suspended license. There are people out there that drive, you know, illegally. Don't do it. It's embarrassing. You know, if I would have known that this is where the road would have ended up, I would have taken care of everything a lot sooner. I will say though that I didn't even get to see the beginning stages of when people go to jail. I'm not even going to pretend like I was in jail. I've seen some things. Like, I joke about it. My friends joke about it. They're like, free Kaylee 2K18. Like, everyone's been calling me a jailbird. Like, you know, we've all been joking about it. And it is a thing where I have to make a little bit of light of the situation. But one thing that I will say is that I did see how inmates were treated. And it is sad. It is hard. I know everybody goes there for a reason. Not everybody's a killer. Not everybody's a rapist. Not everybody's a pedophile. Not everybody that goes to jail is in there for some super crazy, crazy thing. And a lot of the people were treated like crap, and it was really, really sad to see. You aren't necessarily a human there. You're not a person there. You are an inmate. You are somebody that's there because you did something illegally. People can tell you to shut up. People can tell you whatever they want there. Again, like I said, the reason for this was just to shed some light on the situation. 2018 is starting off a little bit low, but all I can do is go up from here. Yeah, my first storytime video. I know it's a little crazy. I am a jailbird. Oh my god. But yeah, don't do what I did. Definitely learned my lesson. And I hope you guys enjoyed the story time. If you guys did like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not yet subscribed, subscribe down below and go ahead and push that little bell for push notifications to let you guys know when I upload new videos. Yeah, I don't even know how to end this because it's just embarrassing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much, and I will see you soon.